Um,
Can I start?
yeah.
Hi, I'm Francis, and welcome to the podcast Acquire Simplicity. Today, we have a very special guest. Dr. Marwayn is a teacher of the philosophy of life and inspires people to reach their inborn potential. He has spent the last 7 years studying the human brain and nervous system in order to learn how we can integrate our life experiences so that we may perform at a higher level. He has traveled around the world seeking out mentorship from some of the most fascinating minds in natural healing, spirituality, and business. He has spoken on stages in front of hundreds in the USA, Mexico, South Africa, and Europe. He has traveled on 6 service trips to Haiti, the Dominican Republic, Mexico, Peru, and Colombia. He currently serves people through the art of chiropractic in Ecuador and empowers people worldwide to adjust their own consciousness. And he is also on the airways with his own podcast called Back to Being. I would love to welcome my special guest and my friend, Dr. Marwayn. Hey, Dr. Marwayn.
Oh yeah, Francis, thanks for having me on. Yeah, excited to be
Thank
here
you.
with you.
Thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it. And first off, I want to ask you, how is everything? How is everything in Ecuador? How are you doing?
Oh yeah, I'm doing great. I'm back to serving people. It's been an interesting time for sure here. Of course, with the coronavirus situation that's been all around the world, things came to a standstill, just like many other countries. But I've definitely felt a shift over the last week or two, and I think things are on the way back up. So that's a good sign.
Excellent, excellent, good. And I just want to jump right in actually. You have a vast array of interests and specialities, and you really have put a lot of your time and energy into it. And it all seems to be connected to the central theme, which is a real strong sense of well-being. And I want to ask you, what made you interested in this area?
Yeah, well, I think my principal interest in this area of well-being started with my own journey, and it's because I came to a point where I thought that there's much more that I can accomplish with my life. I looked at my friends, I looked at my family, looked at the things I was accomplishing, probably about 10 years ago, and I was like, well, there's got to be more to this. There's like the systems that we grow up in, our education, you know. Our healthcare, our government, our religions, etc. There's value to all of that, and all of that has served us in great ways. And there's always something to gain from it. But I knew there was something beyond that we were just not reaching. And I was like, well, what is that? And it led me on a path to look to discover more of what are we missing as humans, or actually we're not. Or actually, the question is, are we even missing anything? What do we just have to turn on or awaken from within? So that's pretty much how it started.
Excellent. It takes a lot of time and energy to learn about this and to really practice it. And I want to ask, what drives you in this area? What really drives you?
Yeah, so I think the biggest driver has to be when I see someone. I don't even look at myself. Okay, I looked at myself in the mirror maybe 10 years back, and I'm thinking, have I done everything I can with everything that I have? And the answer to that was no, unequivocally. So that's not acceptable for me. And yeah, for some people, they like to live a life of mediocrity, and I was doing that for many years. And even to this day, there's times where I'm probably still doing that, right? Because I'm falling back at times. I'm not perfect. Anyone that is, I think they're lying.
Yeah, exactly.
But we're on this path to do better, and sometimes we fall back into destructive patterns or habits. So we need some kind of system to keep us there. So that's for me personally. But when I look at the world as a whole, I think we're collectively all on this journey together. So to just look at myself is selfish. So one thing is like my mission, which is how I serve myself, and the vision is how I use my mission to serve others. So I don't think, and the vision, the mission, and the vision comes together to build a purpose. So people who are just taking care of themselves is great, because I think we should do that first. But then the question becomes, once you start organizing yourself, how can you serve others? And because obviously we've all had mentors or teachers that have helped us along the way. So I want to do the same for others. And I think it's very important and critical, especially in the time we're in right now. We have an opportunity to build something greater, as we've had somewhat of a interesting pause around the world. Some people would say it's a terrible situation, but I think we also have to look at the opportunity and the blessing in the crisis, because there's always something to gain from the chaos. There's always two sides to every coin, right? So I think this time is more critical than ever for this.
Excellent. Thank you. And you really focus on health from the inside out and also primarily on the immune system. Can you talk about what you mean more about health from the inside out?
Yes. So if you look at the way, just take the situation we're in the world right now with the coronavirus, COVID-19, and everything that's surrounding that. Our approach has been, let's wait for a treatment. Let's put ourselves in isolation, and let's just wait and see what happens. And maybe in the beginning this was a correct approach because we didn't really know what was going on. So just to be safe, let's take extra precautions. But if you look at the nature of a human being, it's not meant to be in isolation. We're social creatures, and we feed off each other's energies. And having this awareness of that we are energetic beings, spiritual beings on this magnificent home of ours, which is the earth, and on this unbelievable discovering journey every day where we just seem to amaze ourselves. In our greatest despair, something will happen to bring us back to equilibrium. If we go too high and become too uh, inflated with ourselves, so to speak, something will humble us to bring us down. So there's a what was the original question? Sorry.
No, health from the inside out.
Oh yes. So why inside out, right? Because we're looking at everything from outside in approach. We've been trying this for decades, for centuries, and here we are in a moment of absolute chaos. So I think it's time, if you look at the Eastern cultures, I know you're in Japan, my family originally came from India. If you look at the Eastern cultures, it is an inside out philosophy of life. And in the Western world, we're always looking to, I don't know if it's greed. I don't know if it's a lack of awareness or what it is. But even in the West, you're seeing people transition to this inside out philosophy of life. And it's because it's because it's the essence of our being. We've been trying for ages to put band-aids on ourselves, to cover things up, to we'll figure out later. Let's just keep on going with the punches right now. This doesn't work. When we have to get to the root causes of our issues, and that's how we can resolve them. And a lot of times we figure out that our issues are actually not problems but blessings in disguises. And each one of us is this magnificent creation that, like, if you look at our bodies, for example, given if we put ourselves in the right conditions and remove the interferences to our expressions, then our body has the capability to heal itself. And this starts with the mind and extends to the body and vice versa, right? The mind, body, soul connection. This is what I focus on primarily. And there is no one way to achieve it. One of the ways I achieve this, or I help people as a facilitator of healing, because another really important thing is, I'm a doctor, that I don't heal anybody. And anyone that claims to, I disagree with them. Nobody can heal anybody else. The only healer is yourself. So what I'm doing is simply just awakening people to their own power, their own greatness, their own unique individuality that they're put on this earth to bring to us. So as soon as people shift that perception, their mind, my body is in people's lives. That's really a philosophy of life.
Yes. Dr. Barman, can you hear? I think your connection got cut off.
Oh yeah.
You're okay,
Oh
or
yes,
you're okay now?
yeah. So what I was saying is that, oh yeah. So what I was saying is that's the main reason for this inside out philosophy of life is so that I can help people awaken as a facilitator of healing, because there's no doctor in the world that can actually heal anyone.
Yes.
Anyone that says so, I disagree with them. All doctors are doing, all of them, whether they're aware of it or not, is, or even a teacher, anyone that is holding space to allow someone to become whole, to become the best version of themselves, is reminding that person that you are the mechanism, you are the technology, you are the perfection that is here, given the right conditions and without the interferences to your expression, which is your body and your mind, that
Yes.
you will heal yourself and you'll reach your soul's highest purpose and leave your gift of your inner genius to the world.
Wow, I've never heard it articulated like that before. That sounds amazing. Yes. You know, I think you touch on so many areas there. And I think that's one of the things that really fascinates me about you. And it brings me to my next question is, what do you feel about mental, physical, emotional, and the spiritual aspect of health, and just how important the connection between all of them are? Oh, well, Dr. Marwan, I think your connection got
And
disconnected again.
survival. Yeah.
Can you hear me? I think your connection is.
Let me see if I once. Yeah, just 1 second.
Oh,
If
no
you want
problem.
to,
No worries.
maybe if you just want to, I'm going to try and move to a different room.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
sorry about that.
No worries, no worries.
Yeah. Yes, I'm in the kitchen now.
The best place.
All right.
Oh yeah, I think the connection looks much more smooth there. Or did I?
Yeah. Seems. I think we're okay.
I think it's still loading.
All right.
Hello? Oh, there you are. Okay, real
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. No, yeah. I think it should be okay now.
Yeah, we're good. We're good. No worries. No worries. Uh, Dr. Marwan, what do you feel about mental, physical, emotional, and the spiritual aspect of health, and the importance of all of their connection together?
Yes. So the connection to all of it is vital, and I think one of the biggest issues that we've been having in the world is we've been trying to solve multi-dimensional problems in a one-dimensional way. And so there has to be a connection and understanding of the mental, physical, spiritual, emotional aspect of ourselves and the world we live in, and our connection to everything that encompasses that with ourselves as human beings, the plants, animals, nature, etc. And so a lot of times for example, if someone has a physical pain in their body, a lot of times many people will just look to treat the physical pain, which is fine. And you will get short-term relief for that, and sometimes you'll get great relief for that. But the point is that we don't live in only a physical world, right? We've graduated from the Newtonian world into the quantum world, and I think it's time that we operate. And I think part of what's going on in the world today is also a great awakening, and a great awakening to this conscious evolution that we are a mental, physical, spiritual, and emotional being. And if we only look to solve things on a physical plane, then we're going to miss so much of what's possible. And a lot of time, like what I notice with the people that I take care of is they'll come in with a lot of physical pains, but a lot of times these physical pains or different disease processes that occur in the body are coming on because of a mental, emotional, spiritual baggage or blockage that is occurring. And sometimes it can be the other way around as well, right? Because our energies can be drained mentally and emotionally if we have a physical disturbance. So I think it's very foolish to continue to operate in this Newtonian model where 1+1=2, when now we have the magnificent opportunity to operate in this quantum model where 1+1 can really equal anything. So why not expand our horizon instead of limit them?
Okay, exactly. Nice. Thank you. Dr. Martin, you have traveled a lot to many places. Can you explain how has travel impacted your work and your perception of the world?
Yeah, so as soon as you ask this question, I think of the person who just finishes high school. And like younger people today, when a lot of times when you finish high school or secondary school and you want to go to college or university, especially in our cultures, maybe you can attest to this, I don't know, but in Asian families, they want you to become something as fast as possible, right? Pick this career, this job, this profession, this title, etc., and get on your 2 feet as fast as possible. Which there is merit to that, and I appreciate our parents for pushing us to become something. But I think there's also value from my own experiences and many of our experiences that take a pause and really, if you can either work, go work. But if you are able to and fortunate enough to be able to travel around your country or even the world, do that. Because what I realized from traveling is that there's so much to learn from each other. And actually, what I realized, for example, when I went to Haiti, I didn't, because they speak Creole, which is like a mixture of French and the local languages in the Caribbean, and I didn't know how to speak that, obviously. But when you are in the presence of another human being, you realize that you have a heart-to-heart, soul-to-soul connection, and that connection is more powerful than anything. And if it's done with the right attention and intention, and you're genuine and authentic, you can attract people, and vice versa. And the language of a human being goes beyond beyond the rational mind. And also, I love food, I love music, I love dance. So experiencing this around the world is fantastic, right? But it really helps you, because a lot of times we get sheltered in our communities, our towns, cities, or countries. And I think this is part of the reason why people end up in conflict, is like not understanding the magnificence and oneness in all of us. So traveling is a great way to expand yourself before, and it really, what it does, it helps you discover who you are. When you're Yeah, because when you're young, we don't know who we are, and then we try to pick something, and we end up in that job or career or vocation, and then 10 years later we're miserable because we never actually figured out who we are. So traveling around the world is great to get a sense of where we are in the world, but it also allows you to go within and start discovering who you are, what you like and don't like. How is it that you're going to serve the world? Because when we are in alignment with our highest self, our purpose, and what drives us, what sparks us, what gives us that smile every single morning when we wake up, we are going to become the best authentic version of ourselves. We're going to be fulfilled from within, and this vibration is going to go out to all the people around us and allow them to become the fullest expressions of themselves. So traveling is I would suggest to any young person, and even if you're not young, do it anyways. Because as my mother says, it's morning when you wake up. So there's no right or wrong timing, but yes, expand within and expand around. So traveling has been a fantastic blessing for me, and I'm really grateful that I've been able to go to so many different places.
Wonderful, wonderful. You know, you traveled a lot and you also emphasized a very important point that was really, really resonated with me actually. My mother too was an educator for over 20 years, but you've really taken learning to another level. You actually submerge yourself in a learning context to the extent of actually seeking out mentors and literally traveling to learn directly from the source. How did this way of thinking start in regards to learning? Because many
Well, if
people
you
would
want the
really read a
truth,
book or watch a
oh,
YouTube video, but you actually really wanted to have you wanted to get the knowledge directly from the source.
yeah, maybe I'm old school, or maybe I have an old soul. I don't know. Uh, because yeah, I've never really been a big reader. I do like to read, but it's something that I do in like spurts, right? I'm not one who, I'm not going to give you the cookie cutter response. I read a book a day. I don't. I go in phases where I'll read something and I'll read the whole book. If I really get gripped by it. It's the same thing with videos. We live in an audio-visual world today, so listening, like what we're doing on the podcast, is fantastic because I think many people are listening to this more than anything right now. And then the videos, yeah, I love watching those, listening to these. But what I found is that there's a different aura and resonance in person. You can get everything online, and we're lucky that we live in this world today. In fact, I'd probably tell people you can learn more online than universities, but but that's a whole different conversation. But but yeah, that's the reason you need mentors is because it's like if you want to become the best football player in the world, you should probably figure out how you can get as close as possible to Ronaldo or Messi, because you're going to learn not only how to score a goal or how to pass a ball, but what goes on behind that, because that's what really makes the man or woman, is the discipline, the routines, the as you asked, the why, because it's much more than meets the eye. And why traveling around the world, travel around the country, seek out mentorship, is because not only do you surround yourself with a person that's mentoring you, but you're surrounding yourself with others who are on this journey to become something. And so it does make a difference who you're spending your time with. And of course, it's not possible to be with those people all the time, but luckily with technology, we can connect with them even if we're afar. So I think I was, if you want the honest truth, in the beginning, I was going to these seminars. And I had no idea what people were talking about, to be honest. Sometimes I'd go because a friend of mine was going, or some hot girl was going there. But that shows you where my awareness was about 7-8 years ago. And there's nothing wrong in being attracted to the opposite sex. That's normal, or whatever sex people are attracted these days. I'm not judging, whatever everyone wants to do, yeah, whatever. But but so it's like, oh, she's going to the seminar, so I'm going to go too. But it was a good thing, because eventually you do start focusing and you start understanding what they're saying. But probably the first 1/3 of the seminars I went to, I wasn't fully conscious. Maybe I was late, maybe I'd gone out the night before. I wasn't really present. But being in that vibration and surrounding of these people eventually switches something on inside of you. Yeah. So even if you're like just you're a screw up trying to make it like me, just keep on doing it, because eventually something will tick.
Nice, nice. And you know what? Having a mentor, you said, is very important. And I think how you approached it, seeking out mentors, numerous mentors in a variety of different fields. I wanted to ask you, what are some traits of a mentor or leader? Do you think a leader should be feared or liked? Or is there a balance?
That's a brilliant question. I don't think that, I think there is value to having someone like a father figure who is pushing your boundaries. So I think that kind of fear is good, but fear in general is not the best approach to life, in my opinion, because it's from a health standpoint, fear is putting you, takes you into to the amygdala and puts you in a fight or flight state. I think it's increasing the stress response. when we're in this increased stress response on a short period of time, like short spouts of stress, like it's called eustress, right? Good stress, challenging yourself or being challenged by a mentor. I wouldn't necessarily call that fear, but I'd call that's very important, because if you get in your comfort zone, you can't grow there. I know it's cliche to say that, but it's 100% true. If you keep on doing the same routines over and over again, your body and mind gets used to it, and you end up back in destructive patterns. So getting someone to push you beyond what you think capable of, because most of the times we condition ourselves to be rubbish and crap and mediocre, because we are capable of way more than we give ourselves credit for as human beings. I'm not saying go jump off a bridge. I haven't figured out flying yet, so hold on that one. But just make sure someone is pushing you to your limits. And yes, it's not a popularity contest to be honest. Some of my best mentors were not always the most popular with everyone, because sometimes they're going to tell you how it is, right? And not everyone likes to hear that, especially in the people my age. I'm in my early 30s, and I can only speak for my age or younger. What I've noticed is we don't like to be told that we're not doing something correctly. And I agree. I like the resolve and rebellious nature of our generation, because that's valuable too. But at the same time, you do need to be humble enough to say, okay, I can improve, and I can accept criticism, because criticism is not a bad thing. It's actually, I would rather someone tell me how I can improve and what I'm doing incorrectly than just telling me I'm doing everything great all the time, because that doesn't really serve me. But this is the thing that I think from a young age, especially the children in the world today, especially what's going on, we need to help them become aware of this at a younger age, that it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to fail. It's okay to be a little bit scared, because that's normal. We're human beings. We don't live in a fairy tale Disneyland. Life is a fairy tale, but part of it is painful but it's not pain in a negative way. As I mentioned, these stresses are good. These are allowing us to grow, to become resilient, to learn things, to connect with other people, to be human. And this is important. So I think what you look for in a mentor is someone that's going to be authentic and honest with you, who is coming from the heart, who is loving, is genuine, authentic, that is congruent. The congruency is massive. Like, nobody's perfect. Even the people don't put anyone on a pedestal, and don't put anyone in the pit, because that's destructive to yourself. Like, don't think that, oh man, I'm never going to become like that, because that's not true. We're only a stone's throw away from becoming who we aspire to be. And we cannot be anyone except ourselves, but we need people to help us to do that. But someone loving, authentic, genuine, sincere, congruent with their message, because a lot of people are out there on the stage talking X, Y, and Z, and they're doing ABC. So it's like, what's going on here, bro? Like, that's not someone you want to be mentored by. So it's not the loudest. One of my mentors, I think it was Dr. Plasker, said, leadership is not leadership. Just because the loudest person on the stage doesn't mean they're the best. They're not. Look who's behind the curtain. Anyone can get on stage and put on a show, but what's actually going on? Go visit go spend time with them. Go visit their offices, their businesses, their practices, and see what they actually do, because action speaks louder than words. And I really believe that. You lead by example, right? The leader who's in the trenches is who you want to. And so that's some of the traits you want to find in a leader. And I think it's someone that you can, first of all, have to resonate with you. That's why not everybody is going to like the same mentor or leader. So you have to find someone that resonates with you, and it's going to shift from time to time. There's another thing that people don't understand. Someone's like, oh, I'm this now at 18 or 25 or 30, and I'm going to be this for the rest of my life. How do you know that? The more things we experience and exposed to, we start evolving our thought processes too. So if you look at like one of the things that comes to mind, if you look at like a tennis player or a golf player, or if you look at the top 10 players in the world, they change their coaches every year or two. And it's not because the previous one was bad. I think it's because they want someone to push them a little bit into a new direction or learn something different. And this is okay. So you can have many mentors. And I've even had, I know a chiropractor in New York who has 17 different mentors. And because he has one for like public speaking, one for finance, one for relationships, one for his like hands-on skills, technical skills, etc., etc. So you can have different mentors for different areas. So there's many ways to construct this mentorship thing for yourself. But I do think whether it's your friends, your family, you go out and seek mentorship from strangers or brilliant minds, brilliant people. I think you have to do it in some format, and it does have a benefit. And don't be rigid and stuck in ways. I think always having an open mind to expand how you can, I think you should figure out what your values are, what your mission and vision is. And this can evolve with time too. But as soon as you have that figured out and more concrete, then how you serve the world can change. So don't get stuck on one way, because, especially as technologies improve, as things change in the world, we adapt, right? So the people who are going to take themselves to the next level in this current time that we're in and really become something are the ones who adapt. And it's a principle of life as well. If you look at all animals and human beings and plants on the earth, the ones that survive are the ones that can adapt in different conditions. So it's the same thing for our careers and our businesses. If we don't learn how to adapt, then we're going to die. So it doesn't mean that we leave our values and principles aside. No, we should maintain our values and principles. And another thing on values and principles that is so critical is that your values and principles are true to you. I need to construct what is true to me. Because if I'm living by someone else's values and principles, I'm going to end up in destruction because it's incongruent with myself. So we have, and even sometimes, we get awestruck by someone that's mentoring us because they may be like a star in our profession or whatever walk of life we're in. But we need to recognize that they are doing in accordance to their selves. So we need to be inspired by that and do it what's best for accordance to ourselves. So this is something that I think a lot of people miss because they're trying to become someone else, but we can only be ourselves.
Excellent, excellent. You know that the mentorship area is so important. And the next question is, I want to ask you, was there a person in your life, they don't necessarily need to be a mentor, who really made a difference or huge impact that it lasted, it gave you a very long lasting impression of a different perspective on life?
Yeah, well, I think it's quite a few people, right? I think because everyone leaves an impression of some kind, whether it's something you want to remember or forget. No, I'm just kidding. No, there's value to everyone, but I think the first person that comes to my mind is probably my mother. Her resilience, because I would say my mother, and then also I think our parents. A lot of times we forget our parents, right? Both of the mother and father, coming from different countries to the UK, and the challenges of being an immigrant. I when I was younger, I didn't understand why they couldn't speak English properly. Like, you've been here for like 20 years, right? But then when I came to America, I realized what being an immigrant was, and it's actually really great, because there's a certain resilience of immigrants that I notice, because there's no plan B, right? You have to make it. So this inspired me for sure, because to this day, there is no plan B. The plan A is you have to make it, whatever the conditions, whatever the weather, whatever the financial situation. There is no other option, because you got kids to feed on the table, you have bills to pay, and you got to get shit done. So, but I think also in a vocational level, I think, I think that's probably the first thing that comes to my mind. My parents.
Yeah. Nice. What kind of person is your mother?
That's a good question. You have to ask her.
Yeah.
From what I can see, is she's a female and she's a human being. But beyond that, I don't really. You have to ask my father for more details. I'm not sure beyond that. But she's she's.
Does she have a good sense of humor, or she's very strict?
I'd say she has a good sense of humor, but I think what I've noticed is her evolution, which has inspired me. Like, growing up, she was, and she will tell you this as well. So I have no qualms about saying this. She was very rigid in her ways, very into religion, and set like a one-way track of life, which and so I saw a lot of conflict with her and with the people she was around. So especially in my own household. But what happened about 10 years ago, she started going on this inner journey, a spiritual path. And it's not to say that those two things are not able to be together. They can be with the right awareness. But opening up an understanding of life and going from like hatred to gratitude about things that have occurred in her life, and really shifting her perspective to the people around her, like our friends and family or the world, inspired me to see that if we do the inner work, that so much is possible. So I think she's always been a loving person, a jolly person. I think the greatest attribute has to be she's always giving. And like she always puts other people first than herself. And what she will tell you more than even what I can tell you is that now she realizes that yes, the best way to serve others is first serving ourselves. So when we take care of ourselves, we can serve others at a higher capacity. So I've seen her transition into that as well, which is very important. Because I want her around, and I mean I want all my family and friends around for as long as possible, right? So
Yeah.
if we just give, because it's an imbalance to just give and not receive. It's an imbalance with the energies of the universe. You need to be in balance. Everything is an exchange of some kind, energetic exchange. So, but that nature of her givingness, I think it's a beautiful thing that my family has benefited from, and it's something that attracts a lot of people to her.
Yeah.
I noticed that she's a great listener. So I think this is a great trait
Excellent.
for anybody. That's what I can say.
Excellent. Excellent. And you know what? I wanted to ask you, do you have a morning routine that Dr. Marwayn does? Any type of thing that you usually do to start off the day? Because I notice a lot of people are very curious how people in a certain profession, how they prepare their day.
Yeah, so I think it's very important for any professional to have some kind of routine. It doesn't have to be a rigid routine. Because I look at myself, I'm a chiropractor, but I look at myself as a professional. My mentors trained me like that. I was involved in some training programs in school, and I think the biggest two influences in that would be Dr. Arno Bernier and Dr. Brett Jones, for their resilience to just commitment of inspiring the students and doctors around the world to keep on training, this training culture that was put together. And I became a part of that because a lot of people in their vocations, they just get their title and they think they get on their ego trip and they think that's all they need to do. It's like, no, bro, you got to keep training, you got to keep learning, you got to keep expanding. The game just starts when you graduate. It's called commencement. It doesn't mean you finish. You're just starting, man. Yeah. So we started this in our university, in our school, when we were studying. Right? We would wake up 5:30 and we'd be at 5:30 in the morning. A group of us, anywhere from 30 to 100 people, depending on the quarter we were in. So we're training movement, right? Moving our bodies with a purpose, because every movement is designed specifically to deliver the art that we're going to provide by the adjustment that we provide for the people we serve. Then we go into some kind of breath work or meditation, right? Because your breath is life, right? The prana, the chi, is you're aware of this in your part of the world. And also between your brain and your cranium and your sacrum, you have a CSF pump, like the cerebrospinal fluid. So your breath is assisting with this fluid motion. That's how your brain gets nutrients and gets rid of toxins. So the spinal cord needs that. So movement of your spine, movement of your body. That's what Pilates and yoga really is all about, right? And it's moving the energy. We have energy chakras, the energy system. So moving, breathing, having some kind of mindfulness meditation practice, and then going into training your own particular craft, whatever that is. Like, I don't know what you do if you're like for me, it's, I said, because the nature of my job is very physical. So we have many different ways to help people. So I'm doing different strikes like a martial artist would, but strikes of the adjustment, right? So how I would adjust different parts of the body. So maybe if you're an athlete, you do something specific to your sport. Maybe if you're a teacher, you practice speaking. You practice your lesson for the day. I don't know. Even doesn't have to be long. Even sometimes I'm not doing a 3-hour practice every morning. Sometimes I do 2-3 hours. Sometimes I'm pressed for time for whatever reason. Like if I'm doing an interview with you at 6 a.m. But even if it's 10 minutes to 15 minutes, do something. I think it helps. It doesn't have to be cookie cutter and the same every day. I think changing up your routines is good, because when we become creatures of this, if we get bored, right? It's human nature. If we keep doing the same thing, we get bored. So we need to change it. Like I change the breath work. I don't do the same breath work every single day. I've learned different kinds, so I switch it up. And some people, everyone's different. So find your flow. The main important thing is don't copy and paste. Well, actually, you should copy and paste until you figure it out. But that's what I did. But find your flow, because when you're in your flow, you're gonna connect. And I think what I realized is the strangest thing. Maybe I don't know if you do stuff like this. You probably do, because I've seen you working out and pumping iron and inspiring people as well. So I know you do something. But like when you are in this state of moving or just breathing or meditating or training your craft, whatever it is, I tend to tap into something. It's like you become a modem, or you're receiving messages, or you have thought flashes, and you get ideas. Like this is where creativity sparks in these moments too. It's a a shower is also a good one, right? In the shower, I get creative thoughts too. Maybe because I'm quieting myself from the distractions of the world. So I think it doesn't matter how you get to this state of being, but getting to this state where you're just removed from everything else and you're just focused on one thing. I think this allows you to tap into something remarkable. And in the morning, I have found it to be better personally. I know there are night owls too, but for me, the morning, getting in accordance with the circadian rhythm, right? Going to sleep when the sun goes down, waking up when it comes up. There's something magical about this that I've seen a shift in myself. Like I don't need an alarm clock anymore. I just wake up. So I think when we get our energies aligned, something shifts in us. I think it's just important for everyone to find their own way and stick to it.
Excellent. And you know what? I wanted to touch up on one more thing. And you do travel a lot. And I wanted to ask you, what was one food that you craved while you traveled? Or was there like one particular dish that you will always try to look for?
Well, if you asked me this 10 years ago, it'd probably be a beverage in a glass like this. But I think I've graduated a little bit from that. So now I look for sustenance more than anything. But I think growing up with my delicious mother's cooking, I think Indian food is something I always crave wherever I go. But it doesn't have to be Indian food. What I look for is spicy food, tasty food. Like it has to have flavor in it. Like I don't like I don't like the salt and pepper seasoning. That's not seasoning. That's just the basic things you add. I need something else to it. So the more flavorful something is, doesn't always have to be like fire hot, even though I love that. It's something that is indulging in the taste buds of flavor, like a spark of flavor. I think I love, and I have a sweet tooth. I love sweets. So I'm always looking for what's the specialty dessert wherever I travel as well. So, if it can be made with healthier sugars, because the white processed sugar is obviously terrible for us. I don't know if you know this, but it's actually causes the same, if not worse, addictive properties than as cocaine does. Like I've seen a brain study done where someone was on cocaine and it activates the same area of the brain, showing the dopamine effects that create an addictive pattern in people. And actually, sugar might be even more stronger than cocaine, which is crazy. So, but I still have a sweet tooth, so I carry stevia with me everywhere. So I still order my coffee or tea, and I add my stevia in there. But obviously, the more natural anything is, whether it's food or sugars, it's healthier for you. So I find a way, and now the world is getting conscious of that. So you can find healthy sweets too. So I'm definitely indulging my healthy sweets everywhere.
Okay, excellent. Dr. Marwayn, and for the last part of the interview, I wanted to do something just a bit simple. I have a few words. I'll say the word, and you can either say the first word that pops to your head, or you can say a short phrase. Okay.
All right. Yeah, this sounds fun.
Okay, are you ready? Okay, the first one. Okay, let's start. Learn.
expansion,
money,
energy,
passion,
um, suffering with others. So let's become become more.
connection,
It's the essence of our being. Sorry, that's not one word.
music,
Life,
community,
uh, eternity.
food,
I'm hungry.
people,
Love,
back to being.
the evolution of humanity.
Excellent. Thank you. That's good. Perfect. That was excellent. Dr. Marwayn, I wanted to ask you, where can people connect with you? Where can they find your stuff? Where can they listen to you? Can you tell us any social media platforms you're on?
Yeah, so you can find me on like LinkedIn.
LinkedIn.
On Facebook, I have my podcast page Back to Being.
Yes.
On Instagram at Dr. Marwayn. Yeah, so my podcast is on all the major platforms.
Yes.
iTunes, Spotify, etc. So you can find me there, and I will be on YouTube soon as well. So in this time, I think it's very important for all of us to curate and create content, no matter who you are and whoever's listening. Don't think of yourself as lesser than anyone else. Someone's going to be inspired by your story. So just get out there and create something, just like me and Francis are, and become part of this evolution of sharing the magnificence of who we are.
Excellent. Excellent. And that's Dr. Marwayn. I want to make sure that's Back to Being, back with the number 2 and being.
Correct.
Being.
Yes.
And you can find him on Instagram at Dr. Marwayn. Dr. DrMarWyn.
That's right.
Excellent. Well, Dr. Marwayn, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to come on Acquire Simplicity podcast. And I hope to have you on in the future. There's so many more areas I want to touch up on. And I just want to thank you and wish you the best.
Yeah, thank you, Francis. It's been a joy. I really want to come to Japan one day. So hopefully we'll make that happen.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it. I'll talk to you soon.
Take care.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.